Hello and welcome to Now You Know More. If you're new here, then you should know that we like to find and explore little-known facts that happened all throughout history. I put together a list of my top 15 favorites for you, and I hope you enjoy it. Did you know Woody Harrelson's father, Charles, was a hired hitman and a convicted killer? He once even claimed to have been involved with the assassination of President Kennedy. Did you know when Jimmy Hoffa disappeared, his estimated net worth was $13 million. On top of that, his wife Josephine received $1.75 million from the Teamsters retirement plan. Those two figures together would be worth over $46 million today. Josephine died just 5 years after Hoffa disappeared, and at the time of her death, the estimated estate was only about $400,000. No one knows how Josephine died. So what really happened to her, the money, and Jimmy? Let me know in the comments what you think. Did you know the 1932 kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby caused the Lindbergh Law to be enacted? This made any kidnappings or mysterious disappearances of any child under the age of 12 a federal offense. This gave the FBI the jurisdiction it needed to investigate these crimes. Long before John Dillinger became public enemy #1, he attempted to impress a girl by stealing a car. Eventually, a policeman pulled John over and took him into custody. John was able to break free and get away, but the police already knew who he was and where he lived. So in order to evade arrest, John joined the Navy. 5 months into his military career, stationed on the USS Utah, John decided he did not like shoveling coal anymore, so he jumped ship and went AWOL. Eventually, he was dishonorably discharged. In 1934, a wealthy banker named Edward G. Brimmer was kidnapped by the Barker Karpus gang. A ransom of $200,000 was paid, and Edward was released on a deserted road, left to find his own way home. The FBI had marked the serial numbers of the cash and branded certain gang members as public enemy #1. The gang split up and attempted to launder the money, but their efforts failed. One by one, they were gunned down or arrested. On January 16, 1935, the FBI found Ma and Fred Barker's hideout in Florida. It ended in a shootout, and Ma Barker died with a Tommy gun in her hands. On March 24, 1972, Emil Decino and his accomplices used dynamite to blast a hole into the concrete roof of the United California Bank. Over the course of 3 nights, the team was able to successfully steal $9 million worth of cash and valuables out of the 450 safety deposit boxes inside. This would be equivalent to $65 million today. That would make the United California Bank robbery
the biggest bank heist in U.S. history. Look it up.
Did you know there were 18 pregnant passengers on board the Titanic? 14 of them survived. One of the most notable was Madeline Astor, wife of John Jacob Astor IV, the richest man on the ship. They were returning home from an extended honeymoon, and he did not survive, but Madeline did. She gave birth to John Jacob Astor V on August 14, 1912. Madeline inherited a $5 million trust fund from her late husband, but under the stipulation that she did not remarry. She eventually relinquished her claim and married whoever she wanted, a couple of times. John Jr. was given a $5 million trust fund when he turned 21 years old. In today's money, that would have been worth about $113 million. We're almost halfway through, and I was wondering, do you know any interesting facts that you'd like to see in an upcoming video? Let me know in the comments, and if I pick it, I'll give you a shout out in the next short. Have you ever heard of Dr. William Livingston? He was a con artist in the 1800s who went around the country selling bogus elixirs to make money. Eventually, he made enough money that he was able to loan it out to poor farmers with a 12% return. But he would only loan it to people he knew would not be able to pay it back. Eventually, he would foreclose on them, taking his farms for his own. If you've never heard of him, it's because he used an alias. His real name is William Rockefeller Sr., the father of John D. Rockefeller, an oil tycoon who was once known to be the wealthiest man on the planet. If you watched A League of Their Own, then you know how baseball survived World War II. But what about the NFL? Did you know that President Roosevelt demanded sports to keep playing in an attempt to keep a sense of normalcy? Unfortunately, with the lack of young, healthy players, some teams needed to become resourceful. Some used retired players and people who were not fit for military service. But in 1943, the Steelers and the Eagles actually combined their teams and played as the Steagles. It ended up being the first winning season for the Eagles and the second for the Steelers. Now you know. Benjamin Guggenheim was known for saying, "We are dressed in our best and we're prepared to go down as gentlemen." The movie portrayed him sitting in a chair awaiting a brandy as the Titanic was sinking. But he did so much more than that. Prior to dressing in his best, he was actually assisting the officers to save as many women and children as he could. And when he felt he could do no more, then he went to his room and dressed appropriately. Once dressed, he went back on deck where he instructed his steward to deliver a message to his wife. It read, "If anything should happen to me, tell my wife in New York that I've done my best in doing my duty." Imagine walking into a casino with a little cash in your pocket, but by the end of the evening you're walking out with a bag stuffed full with 500 grand in cash and chips. In 1992, this happened to Bill Brennan, but he didn't exactly win it. You see, Bill was a hardworking employee with the Stardust Casino for many years. He felt that he earned a promotion for his dedication, but when he was turned down, he decided to end his employment. But first, he secured his own severance package unbeknownst to the casino. By the time the casino realized the money was missing, Bill was long gone, and despite being on America's Most Wanted, he was never seen or heard from again. When Virgil Earp was 16 years old, he eloped with a woman named Ellen. Ellen's parents were not happy with this union, but still they remained married, and even had a baby girl they named Nellie. When Nellie was just weeks old, Virgil was recruited to the Union Army, and he had to leave. While Virgil was away, Ellen's parents deceived her by saying Virgil had died. Eventually, Ellen remarried, and her and Nellie moved. When Virgil returned home, he was not able to locate either of them. Nellie found out he was still alive and was able to contact him only after she heard of the famous gunfight in Tombstone. Virgil was overjoyed to be reunited with her and to find out that he was a grandfather of 3. Most people know that Wyatt Earp never had any children, but he almost did. On January 10, 1870, Wyatt married Urilla Sutherland, and they lived on a farm outside of Lamar, Missouri. Urilla became pregnant, but she died of typhoid fever before the baby was able to be delivered. The first effective vaccine for typhoid was not invented until 1896. Had it been available sooner, would the baby have survived? Would then Wyatt, being a father figure, decide to stay on the farm and not turn into the historical figure that we know today? It's just something to think about now that you know more. Do you hang your toilet paper over or under? Let me know in the comments. Oh, and by the way, did you know before toilet paper was invented, people were forced to clean themselves with rags, wood shavings, leaves, grass, hay, stones, and even seashells? In ancient Rome, they actually used a sponge on a stick that was kept in a pail full of vinegar. Thank goodness, in 1857, Joseph Gayetti came up with his version of the modern toilet paper that we use today. Did you know Al Capone often told people that he received his scars while serving in World War I? The truth is that while working as a bouncer in 1917 at the Harvard Inn, he insulted one of the female guests. Her brother came to her defense, slashing Al Capone's face with a knife. This is how he became known as Scarface, and he hated the nickname. Thank you for hanging out to the end of the video with me. You're also amazing. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and thanks for listening.